committee in mid-spring semester, so please start thinking ahead about whether you would like to serve in this role starting in fall 2022. The mandate of the steering committee is to look at a future organizational structure for shared faculty governance and to create these events to engage in the tasks of the steering committee, which are to establish trust, to build community, and to create avenues for conversation, to be conscientious of not taking a side on issues, and to serve as a liaison between faculty and AMTA. We have been and will continue to be a group that encourages open and collegial conversation amongst all participants while maintaining independence from AMTA and any other formal music therapy body. If you have topics to suggest to us for future events, email any of us individually or at musictherapyfaculty@gmail.com. Musictherapyfaculty, all one word, @gmail.com. Tonight, we're taking a few moments to take care of ourselves with Fran Goldberg at the start and Ami Kunimura at the end, and engage in a continuing discussion about appreciative education in the middle. In the 7th Faculty Forum event, Dr. Peter Mather was our guest, and he helped us understand the notion of appreciative education. Raquel, who is on our steering committee, will give us a quick refresher of that talk, and then we'll have some time in breakout rooms to keep the discussion going. Now, I'll pass it over to Jan, who will introduce our first speaker this evening.
Great. Thank you so much. My name is Jan Schreibman, and it's my honor and privilege to introduce Fran Goldberg. Fran wanted to make sure I mentioned she's mostly retired and has done so several times. So she graduated from IU Bloomington and has been a practicing music therapist for many years. I won't state the year because I'm not sure she wants that shared. So she's a Bonnie method guided imagery facilitator. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Fran so we can all learn from her wisdom.
Thank you, Jan. Is my mic on? Can you hear me, everybody?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. It's a pleasure to be back here again. And I thought that tonight, we'll do something that's really different than what we did last time. As you probably all know, singing is really, really good for you. It lights up the entire brain when you sing. So tonight, we are going to sing the Pachelbel Canon. Some of you know that. Some of you may not know that, but it's a canon. So it's repeated over and 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 over. So you can catch on pretty quick. The easiest part to get is the bass. So you can just start that bass line and just sing it. So what we'll do is mute ourselves so we can sing away as loudly as we want to with the music. Okay? All right, is everybody clear? Okay, because we cannot sing together, as you probably know. All right, so the other part of this is I want you to move too. The Pachelbel Canon has a really kind of nice sway, nice flow. So allow yourself to move, and you can move your arms, your hands. If you want to stand up and move, that's great too. And sing. All right, here we go. I see we have a flute. Great. At the end, we'll all cheer ourselves. Get ready. Okay, you just sang along with European music therapists at a conference in Norway a few years ago. So you are in good company. So I wonder if anybody would like to say anything about the singing or the moving or anything.
I was thinking about if we had 23 different audio tracks, if everybody didn't know that they were being recorded, how we could mix it all together and put something very, very unique together with all the different sounds and everything.
Yeah, right, right. I haven't tried it yet, but it occurs to me that if we do some singing without words in pentatonic mode, it ought to come out fine. Theoretically, it would come out fine. I haven't tried it yet though with group. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much for allowing me to be here with you tonight. I hope you enjoyed the singing. I hope you felt it inside, all the vibrations that go through your body and all of the healthy things that happen when you sing. And I hope that you will continue to sing, 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 sing. If that's something you're not used to doing, start singing. Thank you very much. Take it away, Andrew.
Thank you, Fran. I think I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and do a little refresher of appreciative education. So if you don't mind, I can share without you stopping sharing. Perfect. Okay. So Dr. Mather is a professor at Ohio University. He's also on my committee for my dissertation process right now. And his specialty is appreciative education and experiential learning. I'm doing an interdisciplinary degree, which is how I came across this framework of appreciative education. So today we'll have a little refresher on what that is and how we can apply it to us as music therapy faculty and supervisors, and even any administrative work we might do at our schools. So just a little bit of background first. Appreciative education came out of the appreciative inquiry framework. So what that was is in 1990, around 1990, a guy named David Cooperrider developed appreciative inquiry based on positive psychology and social constructivism and asset-based community development. So Martin Seligman is behind positive psychology, if you're interested in reading more, and Kretzmann and McKnight are behind asset-based community development. And what this looks at is really what's working, right? What are we already doing that's working? So we have these kind of 4 stops here, or what we call the 4 Ds. Discovery or discover, dream, design, and destiny. And whatever topic you have at the heart of this, it can be applied to anything. For instance, tonight we're going to be talking about music therapy education. Going through these 4 Ds as a cyclical and integrated process can help discover and realize and apply to a profession what's working and applying really the strengths. So, excuse me. Okay, so appreciative education has 2 more Ds attached to it. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. The first one is disarm. So when we say disarm, this is really a way of entering the room or entering a mindset where it's welcoming and safe for our students or for our supervisees. So some ways of doing this as music therapists, we might think a little bit of maybe self-disclosure or creating a culture around just feeling safe in your classroom or in a music therapy session. Some other points to this is just making sure that all voices are valued and recognizing hierarchy in classrooms and kind of disarming that as well. Sharing with enthusiasm and just having a very welcoming demeanor. The next D is discover. So whatever, again, our topic of our positive choice topic is that we're looking at, for instance, music therapy education, what do we want to discover within that's going to help contribute to positive change? So some characteristics of the discover stage are asking open-ended questions, using attending and active listening skills, which are all things that we as music therapists have been trained to do, but really applying it to how we teach. And again, valuing all voices, assessing what's happening and what's already working in that framework. So we want to, in our classroom, we might want to uncover various learning styles, or even in a music therapy session or supervision session, how the student is going to, how we can be most effective with every individual student. The next stage, dream. This
is where we get to come up with all of the ideas that can contribute to that positive change and effective teaching or supervision. So discussing maybe positive and powerful images, connecting between the discover and dream stages. So connecting between what we want to find out, what we're looking for, what's working, and how we can achieve that. So a lot of encouraging of reflection, modeling, and promoting personal goal setting. After we've come up with our dream, then we can start to design how the dream is going to be implemented. So this is where we might teach decision-making strategies, providing positive feedback. Again, always looking from an asset-based approach or the strengths-based approach. So what's working with our students and how can we design our either curriculum or supervising or any form of teaching. So we're using our students' resources already. One example of this in classroom teaching is a backwards design and lesson planning, and just keeping a really open line of communication. Finally, we have deliver. So actually when we engage our learners to do their best work, using follow-up and providing scaffolding. As professors, instructors, supervisors, we want to give resources to our students and also help them learn how to find those resources so they can actually carry out the plan. Instilling resilience is a characteristic of the delivery stage, and thinking through things as in a group, engaging everybody again on the same level of hierarchy. And then we don't want to settle because we can always be improving. We're always changing. So don't settle is the idea of keeping the momentum going and building on the ideas that we've already implemented. New goals consistently, focusing on long-term and short-term outcomes, and challenging students to reflect on the entire process. So as I stated earlier, this is cyclical, so it can be long-term and short-term goals. One example of a supervision session might be going through all 6 Ds in one session, but then also throughout the semester as a more long-term goal from start of the semester to finish, and then even longer term goals, following your students for all 4 years in their coursework. So before I move on, are there any questions about any of the D stages, any of the 6 Ds? Okay, so we'll take a few minutes here. I wonder if I'm not going to leave this slide up. I'm going to go to the next slide. So if you want to jot down these 6 Ds, go ahead and do so. Disarm, discover, dream, design, deliver, and don't settle. And we're going to take a few moments individually before we break into breakout rooms to brainstorm for yourselves what you think the future of music therapy looks like. That was my cat. In this process, where I would start would be to write down a couple things that have really been working for you in the past semester, even going through pandemic times. What have you found to be working? Maybe if not just the past semester, something that a time that you felt like you were at your high point, whether that be after one class, one moment, a whole year. So I'll give a few moments right now just for you to think about your high points of your teaching or supervising time. And as you're thinking about that, I have a few other prompts up here. time that you felt most successful in advising or as part of your program or in the classroom? And then how we can take that and continue doing it. What is the next step? What are your dreams for your class? So I'm going to put you in a couple of breakout rooms here, and I will automatically assign them. So we'll just have some discussion around that. And looks like we lost a few people, but that's all right. I'll put you in groups of 4 and think about those few questions and just discuss amongst yourself, and we'll come back, do a little debrief, and we'll do one more breakout room after that. Are there any questions? Okay. Right, it looks like we have everybody back. It's a good sign it took you all a whole minute to come back. That means that there was some good discussion, hopefully. So just within your small groups, how did you disarm with yourselves? Did you introduce yourselves, or you might have already known each other? Just 1 or 2 comments. I'd love to learn.
Susie that took the bull by the horns. You go, Susie.
We didn't disarm. We forgot. I forgot the D. We just launched right into high points, moments. I wasn't sure how much time we would have, so we just kind of each went around and talked about some unique high points during COVID and beyond. Well, we're not beyond COVID.
Yeah. Sure. And I actually didn't ask you to disarm. I just was curious to know if anybody did introduce themselves or check in. But even in a situation like this, that's where a disarm would come in. So let's hear maybe one high point, and we're going to do a little activity at the end here. But just before we go into the next 2 Ds, one high point that really stuck out to somebody.
I was in a group with Andy, and Andy has built herself a little office outside of her house, and I want one.
That's great. Yeah, you have a really nice space to be engaged in your work. Good. All right. So the next 2 Ds here, we have design, deliver, and our last one, don't settle. So in the next, we'll have 10 minutes, I think, for this. We can continue with your conversation if you were at a stopping point that wasn't a good stopping point. So continue with that conversation if you'd like, but then talk a little bit about how you might implement whatever your dream is that you are envisioning for your students, or for supervising, or for advising, anything for your program maybe, and what that design might look like. The delivery stage is actually you doing it, so we won't get there tonight, but brainstorm a little bit about the design steps for your dream. Any questions? All right. All right, welcome back. So just to wrap up this portion of tonight, I have a little word cloud that I'd like to share. And I will share my screen first. So if all of you have done word clouds before, I have to activate it. Hang on one moment. No. You can text or use your computer at this website, or you text this here, Raquel Ravagle 707 to this number. And just in a one word or two words, I'd like you each to put in something, a strength that you discovered or your high point, what that felt like maybe, or the dream that you have, or maybe a way that you've decided to design that for your class or for supervision or advising. And as your responses come in, they will pop up here in the word cloud. So as we're working with our students or our colleagues, just remembering that the Discover stage is really all about asking open-ended questions to find out the strengths. So we can use this strengths-based or asset-based approach to be effective communicators, leaders, instructors. And once we dream up what our high point looks like, and in the design stage, just really developing learner grit or resilience through using effective follow-up and engaging in reflection. And that can be for ourselves or with our colleagues or our students. Is everybody able to access it? I see some people aren't. Okay. Yeah. If you're on your computer, you'll use the website that Andrew put in the chat. If you're on your phone, this is the number. You'll text 37607, and the message to that number will be this. 37607. And the message will be here. Wow. That's okay. If you can't get it, feel free to speak up your words or put them in the chat as well. But just looking at this word cloud, we've got curiosity, resilience, flexibility. Such great words to implement reflection, in the moment change. And as the words keep popping up here, I'd like to give anybody a chance to speak on a word if they would like to share anything. If anybody wants to claim a word. Expanding. Yeah. Change. Good. And now the next steps then, when we do implement, just knowing that because of the need for flexibility and resilience, expansion, change, this is never ending, and hence why we have the don't settle stage, to keep building on momentum of new goals, to not get stuck in something that maybe isn't working, and to keep looking for those things that are working, and developing lifelong learning for our students and for ourselves through challenging reflection. Great. I am going to take a screenshot of this wonderful word cloud. And if anybody has any last comments, we can share those. Otherwise, I will turn it over to our next speaker. Debbie, yes.
Hi. It is my pleasure. I guess I should first say who I am. I'm Debbie Gumbert. I'm at Eastern Michigan University. And it is my pleasure to introduce Ami Kunimara, who will close tonight's program. Ami is the founder of the Self-Care Institute and a writer, speaker, and board-certified music therapist. Ami provides therapeutic support for professionals around the world who are experiencing burnout. Ami is the creator and facilitator of Resilience Over Burnout, a self-care program, which is an in-depth online program that guides professionals out of burnout and stress cycles through research-based self-care practices. Ami is also the author of Resilience Over Burnout, a self-care guide for music therapists. Ami is presented on self-care and professional burnout at conferences. She's also taught as a lecturer at UCLA and as adjunct graduate faculty at St. Mary of the Woods College, where she earned her MA in music therapy. And Ami is currently pursuing a PhD in mind-body medicine at Saybrook University. And so I will turn it over to Ami. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right, thanks, Debbie. All right, so I wanted to bring in a topic and a practice for us to close with today. And the topic I want to bring up is the word compassion. And I think the word compassion fits in well here with appreciative inquiry and appreciative education. You know, appreciative inquiry does involve asking compassionate questions like, you know, what could be, what should be, or what will be. Those are compassionate and expansive questions. But I also wanted to bring in the word compassion because compassion does encompass a very wide range of things. And compassion feels like a very warm word, and it is. And it can, compassion, it sort of gets this label as this feel-good word. But I wanted to discuss compassion so that we can sort of feel the full breadth of it. And so the word compassion, the Latin root of the word compassion comes from pati, P-A-T-I, but that means to suffer. Compati means to suffer with. And so it can be confusing or a little uncomfortable that suffering is connected to compassion somehow. But let's take a look at this with sort of a wide lens. When we look at compassion and when we look at suffering, to suffer with, if compassion means to suffer with, what that can mean is presence. It can mean being present with someone else's pain or suffering. It can mean being present with your own pain or suffering. And in that way, compassion means that we're not denying, ignoring, or avoiding the pain or suffering or challenges or problems that are there. What it means is that we are sitting with the uncomfortability of it all and being okay in the space with it. And now that's not easy. There's something called compassion fatigue that does happen. It's not that easy to suffer with somebody or to connect with someone while they're suffering. But it is necessary to address the suffering and pain that is happening. And especially when we look at appreciative inquiry, when we do bring up these questions, it's not going to be just positive responses coming back at us. Appreciative inquiry does mean asking hard questions sometimes or looking at harder responses that do come in and making room for it all. And so when we look at compassion as being able to suffer with, being able to suffer with another person, or again, with ourselves too. It means not pushing anything away, but there is a difference between suffering with someone or suffering with yourself and suffering for. And so we're not suffering for someone, you know, for someone in pain. We're not trying to take away their pain or make it our own, or just trying to fix what's going on. Again, we're trying to be present with that. And with compassion, we're looking at suffering with, but
putting some boundaries around that. What does it mean to suffer with? Again, it doesn't mean going and trying to fix someone's problems or absorbing all of their pain. What suffering with in terms of compassion means is bringing in a sense of acceptance for that person, accepting who they are, what they're going through. It can also mean just bringing in a sense of warmth for that person, like just a nice human warmth instead of reacting with coldness or pushing somebody away. And it can also, compassion can also mean bringing in a certain amount of self-acceptance for ourselves. And when we accept others, we accept ourselves, we can bring in this idea, and this comes from Eastern philosophies and Buddhism, that, life is suffering. It's a Buddhist term, that life is suffering. And it sounds very negative. It can feel kind of heavy. But if we can surrender to the fact that life will involve pain and loss, and knowing that the human experience can be very hard, then we can look at compassion again with this wide lens of looking at compassion means embracing the pain and the humanness that we're all going through. And so putting this into the context of our work, our students have gone through a lot the past couple of years, so have we. Their suffering has sometimes been ours, and ours has sometimes been theirs. When we look at the music therapy profession as a whole and what we're going through right now, there's a lot of pain there, and there's a lot of struggle. At the same time, there's a lot of growth and certain things that need to be addressed coming out into the light. And in that way, we're suffering with each other. Again, there's a difference between suffering for each other and suffering with, but bringing to light what's there. But again, it's not easy. When we look at compassion with this wide lens, we think, what can we actually do about this on a day-to-day basis? How can we hold human suffering and still wake up and do our jobs and feel like we're making a difference each day? But we can. And so I want to lead us through a couple of practices to help us build our internal resources for compassion, but to also just practice looking at compassion through this different lens, where compassion just isn't this warm and fuzzy thing, but compassion does involve us opening our eyes and our hearts to the pain that is out there, but knowing that we don't have to do it alone. And that doesn't mean it's all your responsibility to just hold all the pain all the time. That's not what it means. It means that we're doing this all together. And so let's start with taking a breath in, slowly exhaling, taking a breath in, slowly exhaling. And in this compassion practice, we're going to start here with self-compassion, building compassionate resources for ourselves. When we're compassionate with ourselves, we can better be compassionate with other people. So if you'd like to, you can bring one hand to your chest. This is a self-compassionate gesture. This can be self-soothing. Taking a breath in, gently exhaling. If you want to, you can close your eyes. We're going to go inward for just a little while, but you don't have to. You can also keep your eyes open onto the people on your screen. You can look down and relax your eyes, doing what's comfortable for you. But as we bring in this idea of compassion, being suffering with, but also compassion being acceptance, warmth, and love, knowing that can exist all together. First, bringing in some self-compassion by first acknowledging any pain that might be there within your heart, within your body, within just your experience right now. Just silently acknowledging any suffering or pain or challenge that might be pulling at you right now. And knowing that in this moment, we're not here to fix anything. You don't have to change anything. We're not here to change how you feel. Just acknowledging any pain that might be there. And practicing just sitting with yourself as you think about that. And as you sit here, just connecting with a challenge you might be going through, knowing that your experience is connected to a larger human experience. And it's necessary to both acknowledge your own individual experience of this, but acknowledging yourself as a human being. Taking a deep breath in, gently exhaling. And then I'd like you to just switch the hand that's over your heart. Switch the hands. And in this moment here, I'd like you to do your very best to find a moment of self-acceptance. Self-acceptance can simply mean allowing yourself to be who you are in this moment and knowing that we're not trying to change anything right now. Accepting yourself as who you are as a whole human being. The feelings that are there, the thoughts, the body. Knowing that self-acceptance, it can be something that can be hard to hold on to, but even if you can find a glimmer of it here and there, that matters. And we're going to take 3 breaths together. And we're going to make these breaths intentional. Our first breath, we're going to inhale love. Our second breath, we're going to inhale acceptance. Our third breath, we're going to inhale warmth. And so what I mean by that is you're just going to inhale a sense of those things, whatever that might mean to you. It might help for you to bring an image or a color to mind, but knowing that we're all doing this together, but these words will mean something different for each of us. So let's try our first breath with the theme of love. So deep breath in, inhaling love to yourself, letting it fill your lungs and your body. And then slowly exhaling, releasing any tension that might be there. Second breath, deep inhale, inhaling acceptance for yourself as much as you can in this moment. And then slowly exhaling, again, any tension, letting that go. And our third breath, inhaling, just a general sense of warmth for yourself. And exhaling. I'd like you to release your hands, holding both palms out in front of you. And in one hand, in your right hand, I'd like you to still acknowledge the pain and struggle that might be there right now in your life. In your left hand, acknowledging the acceptance, warmth, or love that is also in your life right now. Knowing these 2 things, both the pain and the love, can coexist at the same time. Acknowledging that can be a compassionate moment with yourself. Taking a breath in and exhaling. Then I'd like us to move into a compassionate practice, to practice compassion for someone else. And so I'd like you to bring to mind someone you know who might be going through a painful or hard time right now, or just someone you're concerned or worried about. It could be a student, a colleague, a family member, a pet, or someone else, someone you have a general concern about. And first, just bringing them to mind. As you bring them to mind, acknowledging their pain, their struggle, acknowledging what they're going through. And knowing that just attending to them in your mind is a very great act of compassion. And so we're going to do that breathing exercise again, one more time. But this time, as you exhale, you're going to send those feelings of love, acceptance, and warmth to that person mentally and energetically. So hold that person in your mind space together. Let's take a deep breath in. Inhale a sense of love. And as you exhale, send that sense of love out to that person. Then let's inhale a sense of acceptance. Inhaling acceptance. As you exhale, send that sense of acceptance out to that person. Then our third breath, inhaling a sense of warmth. And exhaling that sense of warmth, sending it to that person. And keeping that person in your thoughts just for a few moments longer. I'd like you to think of just something else they might need, just in one word, something else they might need that you can energetically send to them. As you take another deep breath in, think of that thing they might need. And exhale, sending that out to them. And bringing your breath back to its natural state. And then I'd like you to bring both hands to your heart, connecting here with your heart space. And in your heart space, bringing in that word compassion. Though I gave you some of my thoughts on compassion, I'd like you to connect with your own inner experience and your own inner definition of what compassion means to you. Taking a few moments just to think about that. What does compassion mean to you? And then we're going to end this practice here with just simply asking yourself a question. And as your hands are here on your heart, you're going to ask this question to your heart. And the question is, what do you need right now? So asking your heart, what do you need right now? So considering just that idea of compassion and the pain, the struggle, the suffering, but also the love, the warmth, the acceptance that could be there too, with all of that coexisting. What does your heart need right now? Knowing your heart can respond in words or images or feelings. Your heart can respond through a physical sensation. And sometimes your heart might need some space to respond to. Giving yourself a few more moments just with your heart. Knowing that Simply asking this question is an act of compassion. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, you can release your hands. Let's collectively take another deep breath in together. And as you slowly exhale, you can gently open your eyes. And as you come back into our space here, I would like to open this up in case anyone would like to express the response that may have come up from your heart. Sometimes it can really help for our hearts to be heard. And if anyone did want to express either through the chat or if you want to unmute yourself, something that may have come from your heart as far as what do I need right now? And knowing that for the rest of us, it's not going to be our job to solve it for you. We're just simply practicing saying this out loud into a space and having those words be heard with presence.
I heard that I needed more of this, that I need more moments to create something like this with myself, and then I remembered the context that I'm doing this in, and also thought I also want to know that my students can feel that kind of awareness and like you said, sense of compassion too.
Yeah, nice. Thanks, Andrew. Suzanne said, I need courage and faith that everything will be okay. Yeah. So whatever it is that came up for you, I'd like you to just practice just energetically holding it sort of in your hands right now. Like you have this nice energetic bowl with your hands, and you can hold the needs of your heart. And sometimes when we look at the needs of our heart, sometimes they just need to be held, and practicing just holding it here. Bringing your hands to your heart. And then we're going to end here with just a group exercise and keeping our eyes open. This isn't so much a mindfulness exercise, but keeping your eyes on the screen here of who's here, looking at each other's faces and names. And first, let's open our right hand. Just hold your right hand out and holding this sense of compassion. Again, this sense of compassion of, here we are together. Each one of us has our struggles. Each one of us have our own pains, but each one of us have our own blessings in life too. And the good and the bad, it can all coexist. With this sense of compassion, I'd like you to gather whatever compassion you might have to give right now. And I'd like you to pass that through your camera here and give that to everyone here who's present. And let's send some compassion to each other. Just giving that out. Giving out a warm sense of warmth, acceptance, love for everyone that's here, sending that out. And then take that compassion that's being sent out, pull it into your heart, bringing that in. And then leaving that right hand out, bring your left hand up. And I like to bring in just a topic of gratitude. First, thanking yourself for just showing up here at this meeting, for being in the company of your colleagues, your people, and thinking about the gratitude in your life, what you can be grateful for, the small things, the big things, and then gathering up any sense of gratitude that you can have to give right now. And with your left hand, send some gratitude out to everyone that's here. Let's all just be grateful for each other for a moment, for your presence, for all that you're doing, being grateful for all the work we're doing, but also for simply just being who you are in this world. And then gather that gratitude that's being sent in, bring it to your heart. And then let's let both hands meet near our heart space. So the left hand, compassion, the right hand, gratitude. And this is where gratitude meets compassion, is often in spaces like this, of presence, but in giving to yourself. But gratitude and compassion can often meet where you show up for yourself and giving yourself these moments. A deep breath in, gently exhaling, letting it go, but knowing that you can call on these two things at any time. The compassion and the gratitude, those are things that live within you. And I encourage you to keep cultivating your relationship with compassion, whatever that might mean for you. And so we did these two practices of first giving yourself compassion. It meant sitting with your pain and sitting with any suffering that might be there, acknowledging it, not like picking up your phone and scrolling just to like ignore it for a little while. It can be so easy to do that. And it's okay to do that sometimes, but it is necessary sometimes for us to sit with our pain, that is being compassionate with ourselves, again, suffering with ourselves, but also bringing in that sense of warmth, of love, and of acceptance for ourselves. You know, I imagine most of us are very driven people. We are driven towards positive change, but we also need moments of accepting ourselves for who we are, not having to change all the time. And then there's a practice of compassion for someone else. You know, mentally acknowledging them, doing those breathing exercises, just sending them love, acceptance, warmth, because sometimes there isn't something we can actually do in the moment, but we can energetically send these feelings towards them. And in that way, it helps us feel those same things too. And again, where gratitude meets compassion is where some of the deepest self-care is often felt. And so thank you for participating in this with me. I really appreciate you being here and being receptive to this. One of my missions here is to bring more self-care and compassion to these music therapy spaces. And I very much appreciate you receiving this. And so, Andrew, I think you have a few announcements for us before we close.
Yeah, and we appreciate you bringing self-care into our profession very much so, Ami. So thanks to you, thanks to Fran for your time and energy in facilitating these restorative moments. Thanks to Raquel for being on top of the Zoom and the emails, and of course the appreciative education content tonight. And thank you to all of you for joining us. On behalf of the rest of the steering committee, we thank all of you for attending and taking an active role tonight. We've asked everyone to take a short survey at the end of each faculty forum event. That link will be in the chat. It'll be posted on the Music Therapy Faculty Facebook page and the supervisor page, and it'll be coming to you in a follow-up email if you're on our list. And please click on that link to help us inform these educator gatherings in the future by taking that 5 minutes or less survey. If you have any questions or comments, you can email us at musictherapyfaculty@gmail.com. Again, that's musictherapyfaculty, all one word, @gmail.com. And that's it. Thank you and good night. Have a great rest of your week, everyone.